Hello, children. It is now time for the next chapter in our story, God's Special Messenger. God's special messenger's name was Ellen Gold White. She was born in 1827 and she died in 1915. This chapter is called Old Charlie. But before we start our story about Old Charlie, let's sing our theme song together, Jesus Wants Me for a Sunbeam. In our day, we might think that traveling is fun, but it wasn't much fun in the days when James and Ellen White were still young. They were too poor to own a horse and buggy of their own, so they went by train. They also went by boat. Sometimes they would go by a sled in the snow, and they even went by stagecoach. When they finally arrived at places where they held meetings, they were often very tired. Poor Mrs. White is so tired she can hardly stand up to speak. They are too poor to buy a horse and buggy. Why don't we collect some money and help them? And that is what those thoughtful people did. Some of the men who had horses to sell said that they could bring them, and the Whites could choose the one they wanted. You can imagine how grateful James and Ellen White were. The night before they were to see the horses, Jesus gave Mrs. White a vision. In the vision, an angel was beside the Whites as they looked at the horses. The first horse seemed jumpy and nervous. "Not that one," said the angel. The next horse was a large gray one, but he seemed clumsy and awkward. "Not that one either," said the angel. The third man brought a beautiful brown horse that seemed nice and gentle. As the Whites looked at it, the angel said, "This is the one for you to choose." The next morning, when James and Ellen White met the men who brought the horses for them to see, each horse was just like Mrs. White had seen in the vision the night before. When it came time to choose, Mrs. White pointed to the third horse, whose name was Old Charlie. She said, "We will take this one. I saw all these horses in a vision last night, and the angel said to choose this one." "All right, Sister White, Old Charlie is yours," said their friends. Then two of the men hitched Old Charlie to a fine covered buggy and gave the gift to Elder and Mrs. White. Oh, how pleased and thankful the Whites were. Now traveling would be much more comfortable for them. When they were tired or hungry, They could stop when and where they chose. Now, old Charlie, he liked apples. And in the autumn, as they rode along past the apple orchards, James would let him stop where some apples had fallen to the ground. Old Charlie would choose a good one, pick it up, toss his head, and then happily chew it as he trotted along again. Sometimes old Charlie took the Whites on very long trips. Some of these trips lasted for weeks. They never stopped being thankful to Jesus for giving them old Charlie, because he was such a wonderful help to them. They were also thankful for the kind friends who saw how much they needed the gift of a horse and buggy. Because James and Ellen White loved old Charlie and took good care of him, he served them faithfully for many years. The next story is called The Stocking Behind the Door. I wonder what that will be about. Until then, take care and God bless.